All right, everyone. So TKO president and COO Mark Shapiro said he had breakfast with Vince McMahon and they talked about a lot of different things, including his thoughts on the current state of WWE and the current direction. So we're reading the transcript here from Wrestle Talk. I had breakfast with him a few weeks ago, so this is Shapiro talking, just to check in. It's been a long time, haven't heard from him at all. Obviously, the series on Netflix came out. I wanted to see kind of where he was. By the way, he couldn't have been more cooperative. He couldn't have been nicer. He was a total pro at breakfast, if you will. It's a one-on-one get-together, but he's out of the business entirely. He doesn't make decisions. He's not on the board. He doesn't opine. We don't consult him. He's got some litigation that he's working through, and frankly, he wants the privacy and the time to work through it, which is great because in the meantime, we're going to keep building TKO and WWE and expanding the horizon, expanding the opportunities. And by the way, he's still a shareholder, not the shareholder he once was, but he's still a shareholder. And then he makes the comment about what Vince thinks of the current direction of WWE. And he says, couldn't have been more positive, but I wasn't asking for his opinion. Okay, so obviously what he's doing here is being pretty, I mean, he's talking about Vince McMahon, but he's also making sure that everybody's clear. Vince has nothing to do with WWE anymore, right? That's kind of the point of what he's saying. And he does say couldn't have been more positive. Now, I don't know if this is necessarily the most believable thing in the sense that, is Mark Shapiro going to come out and say Vince, he just hated everything with the direction of WWE. He's probably not going to say that. So in that sense, I get it if people want to question what's being said. But I also think that when you think about Vince McMahon and you think about his entire, kind of career, he always was a guy who, I mean, at least he says that was, it's all about business, So if somebody was really against him or really against the company, and then it was better for them to come back. I mean, look at all the guys who left during the Attitude Era that came back. It's like these guys were helping put WWE out of business, and he still took them back. So I do think there is a level of this idea that Vince is sitting there just angry about the direction of WWE. Maybe he views it as, look, this was my creation, and it's, hitting new levels of success. Triple H is, his son-in-law, so there may be a level of he actually does like the direction where it's going. And I do think I don't believe that Vince McMahon is the type of guy who's just going to sit there and say nothing if he didn't think that it was heading in the right direction. And I think it would be tough for Vince McMahon to look at the product and say it is, because anybody who is objectively looking at it understands that they're in a spot for big growth right now. WWE has this huge Netflix deal coming up. And it's probably one of the reasons why Vince, was hanging on like he was, because he knew that everything they had coming down the pipe, all of this stuff that we're seeing come to fruition now is going to make this company even bigger, even more popular, and even more successful. I mean, going to Netflix is going to increase the amount of people who are watching wrestling. You're going to have a whole entire new group of people who either don't even really know about wrestling or who never took time to watch it that will now be watching it. It's just going to happen. It's not that nobody watches USA Network, but when a show you like is on TV, it becomes appointment viewing for that, and it's only during that time every Monday that's, you're going to see Monday Night Raw. That's not the case now. If it's on Netflix, people are going to be just passing it by every day of the week because it's going to be an option for them to watch. So I think this just leads you to be able to get, this is, to me, is not just the money of why they're doing it, but they're doing it for that reason. Is it kind of resets them to an area where they know everybody who wants to watch the show is going to still go and watch the show on Netflix, but it allows you to get new people to see it. And then you could tie that in with all the other content you produce. And now you have a archive of WWE stuff that people, when you're talking about guys that like to binge shows, right? When you're talking about people that like to binge shows, well, if WWE has their Raws all right there, if they have documentaries and all the stuff that's in the WWE library and WCW library and ECW library, that's a bingeable thing for someone who's trying to get into wrestling. You could sit there all day watching this kind of wrestling content. So I think, it's interesting that Vince doesn't actually seem to be, a lot of people thought, oh, he's probably going to try to do some, like start another wrestling company. From this, what Shapiro's saying here, it seems like Vince is basically focusing on everything but, trying to get back into WWE or start a wrestling company. And he actually may like the direction that Triple H has taken it, because as Shapiro says, he still is a shareholder, might not be as much, but he still is. So thank you all for watching.